What's up, guys? Welcome back to Philoso, the Ronin series. I'm pretty sure you're well aware that it's pretty cool to watch rather than listen. You could also see the person's gestures and whatnot. I say that because I am messing around with this cool little, it's like a visual thing. So it's like what you see in podcasts. Some of them, they pop up. You guys saw one earlier, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try something new. So here I am trying it. That being said, it's funny. I was thinking about some things. So out here in Jersey, those of you who are not from here, in California, you get stuck in traffic and you get so distracted with many things. Here, at least for me, I can't speak for everyone, but at least for me, I get caught in my head a lot and drive around, my head just freaking going. I'm thinking about a lot of things, right? And then I'm just like, you know what? Like, let's recount. And sometimes when I'm talking to people, I kind of jot down certain things that I kind of catch that is like, that's a nugget right there, right? That being said, one of them happened to be, my dad. He always makes these remarks. I bring my dad up a lot often because I've been talking with him a lot. Because, I try to talk with both my parents. You just never know. You never know when I'm going to go, when they're going to go. So, not to be nihilistic or depressing, but I'm looking at some of these older pictures, right? And I started thinking to myself, right, Kazuri? So I got the dog sitting over here. He's lounging. I try to get him in the frame, but he's not budging. Right, bub? Yeah, he's not budging. But anyway, let me take a little sip real quick. Wet the whistle. So, kind of wanted to bring something up. My dad had said something once. He says it a lot often, as if he's like 70. He's getting up there. My dad's going to be 63 this year. Last year, I thought he was 63. He's not. So, funny. But it is also funny because in 15 years, your homeboy here is going to be 50. 5-0. That's wild to think about. Anyway, we're not going to go there. But no, I'm talking about, so my dad, I was talking with my dad, and he always brings these things up. I'm getting old, son. I'm getting old. And sometimes from time to time, he would say things like, oh, after a while, you just stop caring what people think. And it's the second time, I mean, he says this often, right? But I heard this from another mouth, and this was on the Joe Rogan podcast. It was Ben Affleck and I was going to say Jason Bourne, Matt Damon. They were on the podcast, and they were both just talking about like they were talking about publicity and people, and they were kind of talking around like the persona people give off, and it was just really interesting because they said like, dude, the older you get, you just don't care. Like, we think that things matter more than they really do. And I think that plays a factor in our minds, especially when you see things on social media. And there's so many bots and people on there who are just, they make accounts to trash you and make you feel like crap. I mean, I feel like that's their job, right? I mean, kudos to them, I guess. They get something out of it. But anyway, I started thinking, I think for the longest time I took what other perceived me as an identity. So, if you guys haven't seen my mug that my mommy bought for me for Christmas, you can clearly see it's Wolverine claws. Now, I'm going to get into this, and it's going to be very uncomfortable for me, not for you. You're probably going to laugh. But I got a story to tell you. When I was younger, right before I started fighting, I was like getting right into there. And I remember, I would jokingly say, oh, someone gave me the fight name. Someone gave me the fight name Wolverine. It happened to be one of my first Muay Thai coaches because he didn't know my name. And the real reason why is because I had a patch under my chin right here. And it was like right between, it was like, it gives you like the whole like mutton chops look. And at the time, I think it was like my first Muay Thai fight. And I was dating this girl, and she was obsessed with Wolverine. And he called me Wolverine, and she was there at the practice, and she's like, oh my gosh, he looks just like. So it was just like from then on. At the time, I was a huge fan of Batman. Batman was my dude, bro. Like, I wanted to be Batman. I was like, Wolverine, this hairy guy. Like, I don't want to be Beast. Like, I didn't know anything about the X-Men, right? So I didn't know anything. But as time went on and time progressed, right, Kazuri? So Kazuri means Wolverine in Japanese. So you can tell I'm a little obsessed. You know what I mean? But before we get there, funny thing is, I kind of kept the name. I say I kept it. They being my fight team and friends that I had. Oh, you can't call yourself that. You got to have that name given to you. I'm like, bro, I did. Someone gave it to me. It was more of a joke, but it was given to me. And it is staying with me, my man. So, I think I'm looking at some of these older pictures of me, I was training, and crazy, so crazy. Now, it's interesting. I didn't know anything about Wolverine, right? And I kind of looked at the character, and obviously I'm not a billionaire. I'm not Bruce Wayne, but I looked at the character Wolverine, and I started kind of like, I guess you can say I overanalyzed it. But even with the movies, it was like Wolverine is the average man, and the X-Men are in a political war, right? It's kind of like most of the X-Men films and most of that stuff. It's like they're caught in this like political agenda. There's this fight for rights and all these different things. And like Logan just wants no part of it. He's just like, dude, he's been alive for 200 years. He's just sick of it, right? He just doesn't want to be around people. Just wants to be left alone in the Canadian forest and just disappear and, left alone. But very interesting thing that I found about him was by reading the comics. I think I got one up here. Oh, I got two. I got a bunch, by the way, but I got these two. Bink! Right? So, based off the comics, he goes to Japan. Right? Now, before he goes to Japan, the dude is feral. Like, just horrific dude. Like, he just goes by his own, like, morals, which, not much. He's going through, memory loss. You have that whole like, who am I, kind of like Jason Bourne moment, and he's trying to figure himself out. And if you guys don't know Wolverine, I'll let you figure that out on your own. But he's going through this pain, and it's just like eating at him, right? And then he's also having to deal with bad guys and whatever. So at the time, I was kind of going through a lot of things, and I touched on, to keep it PG. I brushed right past like my intro for the Ronin phase. But I think it's very interesting because during that time, people thought I was trying to take on, at least people I trained with, and even I would wear the same trucker jacket. It wasn't the exact same one, but I would wear a trucker jacket. I smoke cigars. I was working at a cigar lounge, so I get free cigars. Like I was like trying to embody this character, mainly because it had nothing to do with fighting. I was like, as I mentioned before, I was not dedicated to the fight game. I was more looking at it like a way to get away from. It was an excuse to get away from like doing responsible things, right? And I was just justifying my actions. I'm doing this because I want to, I don't know what, be relevant. I want to be a fighter. I didn't want to be a fighter. I just said I did, but because I wanted to be around, influential names and yada yada yada, and I wanted to be fit, and I wanted girls to look at me. It was just stupid. And thinking back on it now, I realized that I was actually holding on to this mantra of being the Wolverine in my own head. No one else was calling me. In my own head, I was this character, right? I need to sip on that freaking bruise, dude. So, that being said, I really, really like this character. Now, I say this because it's like, it was a way for me to get away from the problems that I was living. And some of those problems were made by yours truly, right? So, yes, it's very interesting because I was calling myself the Wolverine. I was getting in these toxic relationships. I was getting in these, like, really sketchy jobs. I was training and fighting and not taking my life. I wasn't being responsible. And, I hurt people, and I myself got hurt. And I think about that, and sometimes it makes me wonder, like, man, like that character that I was trying to embody was not who I was. It was something that I was adopting to survive. And even up to this present moment, I mean, I've gone through a lot of things. And those of you who know me and like talk to me on a regular basis, you guys know. And it's hard not to try and embody. And it's like you want to get out of the person you're being and embody someone else without having to let the first person be affected. And that first person is you, obviously. So you're wearing an armor. So back to the Wolverine. So he goes to Japan, and he ends up falling in love with a girl named Mariko, and she is a daughter of I guess like a crime lord. That guy Shingid is a Silver Samurai. By the way, I don't think they did him justice in X-Men or the Wolverine. It was just stupid, but I digress. Anyway, yeah, so she is his daughter, and then he goes to Japan. He's very feral, like no manners, nothing, like no code of conduct, nothing. And he adopts Bushido, which is the samurai like code, right? And I kind of wish, I don't know, I haven't been to Japan, but I kind of wish that like things were like that still. Maybe they are. I don't know. I haven't been there yet, but yeah, I think that embodiment helped him change from being this very uncanny character to a person of morals. And you see it in the movie. The very beginning, he's in Alaska, he's sleeping with the like on the side of a cliff by the fire, and you know, holding on to this picture of Jean Grey, who he killed because she was destroying everything. It was just superhero stuff, dorky. And he, you know, you see him, he's very feral, long hair, big old beard, looks like a bum. And then you see him, you know, after, like, end movie credits, and he's in the airport with Magneto. And you see him, like, he looks a lot more composed, a lot more, like, kind of has it together. Like, and what I mean by having it together is like he has a mindset, a mind frame of like, okay, I know now what I need to do. And in the comic, he kind of he goes to Japan. I have to retouch on it, but apparently he like fails as a samurai, becomes a Ronin, and he ends up being like it's like a failed samurai, right? But he ends up kind of like learning Bushido, and he loves Japan for that. So like Japan, I feel like transforms him into being this like, I don't know, outlawed type character that's really outlawed and just kind of does everything by his own standards, to a person who actually follows a moral code and actually does what he says he's setting his mind out for. And what I think was really cool about it is if you actually see the transition of that character and then progressing from the first X-Men movie all the way on, and even if you read the comics, if you're a dork like me, you start to see that the character actually goes into, he starts becoming like a mentor and a teacher. And he's like, you know, in the cartoon, he's like the gym teacher or whatever. And he's a history teacher because he's been alive for 200 years or something like that. And it's interesting because as I'm like, you know, I'm kind of looking at some stuff that I've gone through, and I'm like, dang, dude, like, I've embodied this character, but I'm like shedding that skin. Not, and I'm saying this mainly, like I said, it's embarrassing. I said it from the very beginning. But I'm saying this mainly because I feel like for the longest time, I've carried this mantle of like, I mean, like it's immaturity really, but it's like, you know, you're this like super cool dude and everyone wants to be around you, or you think that you're, you know, the toughest dude on the block, and then someone has your card, you know, someone has your number, someone's gonna knock you out, someone's gonna do this, someone's gonna do that, or you get divorced, or you lose a loved one, or you like something happens, or you have a health issue, or and you realize you're not superhuman, you know, like there are so many humbling factors that come with that. And you know, it's funny because I started to realize that these like survival tactics that I had in these in my past that I carried for such a long time, dude, it's crazy because I realized now that I was actually putting up a facade. And I'm like, man, I probably look stupid. Like I wish I could go back, but then I think about it and I'm like, if I did go back, what? What am I gonna do? Right? I'm really gonna be not allowing myself to grow. And I say this because I care too much about what people think. So it goes back to what my dad was saying and what, you know, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were saying is like, it's just like, who cares? Like at the end of the day, people are going to do what they want to do because they think the world and the universe revolves around them, and it could be nothing further from the truth, right? Now, why am I sharing this? It's a good question. Glad you didn't ask it, but I know you were thinking it. See, you think you're sneaky, but you're not. Why am I talking about this? Well, you know, sometimes I realize, you know, even to the present, I shared motivation, right? Literally a week ago about what I want to do, my goals, this and that. But then I have this gnawing voice in the back of my head when things or life isn't going the way I expect it to, or I have an off day and I'm like, man, I really don't feel motivated to do this today. I really don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And the moment I'm doing that, all these like voices of doubt, even when I'm doing it, right? Let's just say I'm on top of the world. I'm having a great day, successful day. I still have these gnawing voices. But it's like that story with the two wolves, right? You feed, whichever one you feed the most is going to get bigger. And I realized, and I tell myself, even to this day, that's not true. It's just a feeling. And not only is it just a feeling, but I realized what I go through and everything I just explained to you about Wolverine, how cheesy that was. How many people do I know who may not be trying to embody a superhero, but trying to embody some kind of persona, right? It's on social media. You have, athletes, influencers, fitness models, health gurus, podcasters. You have like everyone embodies a persona of something they want you to believe is really them, but in reality, it's not. And then when that facade crumbles, so does the person. And it's just kind of saddening because it makes me realize I was in that same boat. And the reason I bring that up is because, in my life, for the longest time, I've tried to be someone I wasn't. I try to be the fighter. I try to be the toughest kid on the block. I try to be, I don't know, you name it. I tried doing it. And, dude, I just was left with depression, really. All it left me feeling was, I got the hiccups, by the way, if you hear me. It's because I got hiccups. But, yeah, it just left me, empty. I don't want to say feeling, but it definitely left me empty. And I say that because so many times we live life by emotion. Not just emotion, but I would say motivation, right? You feel motivated to. You all right, buddy? You're a little loud over here. You need to. Shh. Sorry, because there he's yawning and grumbling. Come on. Anyway, yeah, so I say this because I realize that a lot of people get motivated, right? Especially as the new year, new me, the whole thing, right? By week 1, at the end of it, that person is like, I'm over it. Or they just feel like they're not capable of moving forward. So, yeah, I kind of want to talk against that. You know what I mean? I went to the mechanic shop. I did what I said I was going to do, set out. It's pretty cool. Running my business still, doing my own thing, and doing jiu-jitsu, getting tapped. And I'm just kind of like, all right, I'm done. I'm tired. But it's just a feeling. Now, yes, physically, I'm pretty burnt out. If you guys don't live in the East Coast, let me tell you something. Last night, I had the freakiest thing happen. I heard women screaming like bloody murder. And I just find out it's a fox. They're just screaming because that's what they do, I guess, in winter, right? When they're mating, they just decide to scream. It's ridiculous. Pissed me off. You didn't get any sleep. Every so often I'd kind of drift and then I'd hear like a screech. Like it was terrifying. Anyway, yeah. So we all have these like personas. We want people to believe. We have these like lies that we kind of tell ourselves as well. Like, oh, I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And I'm only doing these podcasts because 1, I just want to try it. 2, if you don't like it, I don't care. I'm going to post it. You guys may not like it. You guys might not tune in. I don't care. I might not have any listeners except my dad and my mom. But guess what? That's 2 people. Sick, right? I think for the longest time, I've had this idea that I have to be this, I don't know. And I know if I felt it, you probably feel it too. So maybe this will take a load off you. But man, I think for the longest time, I was always feeling like I needed to, I don't know, be, I think I mentioned this in the previous one. It's like I felt like I needed to be this big, like, I don't know, famous person or whatever. And it's just like, why? Like, what do you get out of it? It's goofy. But, I think that comes from, our present time, right? We have the mental health thing, and I know a lot of people are struggling with that. And I think shedding that skin of understanding that it's okay to be where you're at right now, because this is something I'm learning, is when you're in this moment where you feel like the world is crumbling, it's okay to kind of take a step back and maybe enjoy solitude and try and enjoy and embrace silence. It's a goofy thing, but during all my difficult seasons and the one I'm going through now is I just talk to ChatGPT. Because like realistically, when you're talking to friends, I realized your friends have problems too. Everyone has problems. Everyone does. I go to Jesus, and then when I need stuff that's like clinical or things that I need like to like get my mind just like brain dump, I'll just open up this app and I'll just talk into it. And then it gives me some like really good insight. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't think about it that way. Maybe I should stop crying. You know what I mean? Like, it's just some funny things. And I think that if everyone kind of like realized and gave each other some slack that we're all human and we all make mistakes and none of us are going to live forever. It's funny. I got a haircut, and as she was cutting my hair, I started seeing a ton of grays. And I was like, dang, dude, that made me realize I'm getting old. I got a lot of grays in my beard now. I'm not going to do Rogaine, by the way. I think that's lame. My dad's like, oh, son, you should do that. I'm like, nah, dude, I'm good. I like the grays. But yeah, it's interesting. So I wanted to say and just kind of share that because I know that I'm not the only person that's going through it. I know that, people, I mean, we all want to be famous. We all want to be popular. But I think once you get there, like if I post this on YouTube, which I probably will just to kind of, I don't know, see the haters on there, you'll realize you're not as big as you think. And I think the most interesting thing about this is like it's humbling because when you realize that, it takes a lot of the weight off you when you feel motivated or don't feel motivated. Because then you just want to do it because you enjoy it. You know what I mean? You do it because this is something that you desire, is something that you have ambitions for. You're not doing it because there's an end goal. That end goal may just be because you want to, I don't know, get like a certain belt in, let's just say, martial arts, or you want to get successful amount of capital, whatever the case is. But I think for the most part, being able to go through this and enjoy that season, that moment of, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm feeling, and my feelings are not reality. And just kind of saying, okay, I'm going to let myself feel this, embrace it, embrace the suck, because that's the part of being a warrior. Whether you're fighting, and I could say this because I get punched in the face. I do jujitsu. I train. Okay, I'm not this like dude that's like an Andrew Tate, like, yeah, you gotta embrace the suck. Like, no, embrace it. It sucks, but at the end of the suck is when you actually feel it was worth it. And I can say that because of where I've been. I'm seeing this every single day as I move on, and I'm starting to notice, I've been here before. I've experienced this before. Now my mind has built a like fortified like castle against all the like taunting thoughts that I'm this, I'm that, I'm no good, I'm blah, blah, blah. I can go down a list of things. And you're probably thinking of a ton of things right now, right? And it's like, that's cool. I don't care, right? I'm trying things. You can sit here and criticize me. You're taking time to criticize me. Meanwhile, I'm enjoying my cup of coffee, not giving a damn what you think. So, that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm just trying to share a few nuggets, trying to get, try new things, podcasting, YouTube, my website, writing, just trying to explore a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's just kind of bland when you're just doing martial arts all the dang time. It might just be because that's what I've done my whole life. So, I don't know. But I could be biased there. That being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a review. Subscribe if you're interested. If you're not, cool. I'll just send you one whenever you're ready. And if you guys are in the neighborhood, you guys are in Jersey, Hamilton, Mount Laurel, whatnot, you guys are probably like, I don't know, 15 minutes away from Philoso. Come out and train. I'd love to have you guys. Other than that, if you guys have any questions, concerns, compliments, complaints, or suggestions, I'm all ears. Stay frosty. I'm saying that because it's like 9 degrees here in Jersey. But yeah, welcome to the club. The Ronin Club, baby.